Great. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for the opportunity to present Monarch and for all the airtime for Incubate here. So we're just going through all the programs one by one here. So I'll jump in. So as you heard from James, we only go after market opportunities that are at least $4 billion. This one also fits the bill here. Big market opportunity in tricuspid, lots of programs going after it. Right now, there's only one device that's approved for transcatheter tricuspid valve replacement. And we know it very well because we actually invented it. And we sold it to Edwards back in 2015 as cardiac. It became Evoque. But we think we can do better. And that brings us to Monarch. So I'll let you watch the animation here just to kind of introduce the technology.
A low-profile dual-frame design anchors the implant to the native leaflets, avoiding direct annular contact and preserves the natural motion of the heart, while multiple sealing surfaces prevent paravalvular leaks and maximize leaflet washout. The 30 French delivery system can be introduced via transjugular or transfemoral access. Once it is tracked into the right atrium, primary steering is actuated to guide the nose cone through the tricuspid valve and into the right ventricle. Secondary steering can then be used to achieve greater height in the atrium. If needed, the proximal sheath can also be rotated to centralize the system within the tricuspid valve before partially retracting the capsule to expose the right ventricular arms within the atrium. At this point, temporary rapid pacing is employed to suspend the native leaflets, while depth control is activated to advance into the ventricle. The capsule is further retracted to expand the diameter before removing depth control and engaging the native leaflets. The capsule is then fully retracted to reveal the right atrial skirt, which can be slowly lowered to engage the atrial side of the native leaflets. If repositioning is required, the skirt can be lifted, depth or alignment can be adjusted, and the skirt can be safely lowered again. The valve is now fully functional, and the operator can pause to assess position and performance. Once confirmed, the outer sutures are removed, and the implant is released from the central locking system. The delivery system is then retracted as the capsule is advanced, and articulation is removed before withdrawing the system. By grasping the native leaflets rather than the annulus, the Monarch implant can move biodynamically with the leaflets, distributing the systolic load while remaining securely attached and restoring valve competence.
That's great. So thanks for watching that and going through it. We'll touch on the technology a little bit more, but first I want to just touch on the team again. You've seen this slide in various forms, a couple different ways, but obviously this is a team that has a lot of valve experience, decades in some cases, and we're excited to be adding to that team now with VP of Clinical Affairs that also has deep expertise in the valve space, has been through a number of programs, as you can see. Can't announce this person yet, but we're excited that they're going to be joining very shortly here to help us take this into the clinic. So just a bit on the market. Again, very large opportunity here. Over 2.5 million patients suffering from significant tricuspid regurgitation. Survival rates are not great, and still very few people are being treated today because, excuse me, because of the high operative mortality. So we need a safer, less invasive option here to improve outcomes and patient quality of life. From a market standpoint, you can see with that number of patients, even when you start to discount it for who's symptomatic, who's got isolated TR, who's high risk, who's referred, et cetera, and especially in the presence of tricuspid valve repair technologies, there's still a sizable opportunity just for replacement alone. And we'll see how this shakes out in terms of the balance, but even if it's 50-50, this is a big opportunity here, and there's going to be room for multiple devices. So the Monarch device is really the result of extensive experience that is dedicated now and directed specifically towards tricuspid. We had developed a mitral valve in the past, and back in 2018, when Dr. Quadri and I started this opportunity, we really felt like something was needed to go after tricuspid specifically, that thought about the high risk of conduction abnormalities, that dealt with the low pressure environment on the right side, and in fact took advantage of that. And that's one of the things that we looked at with Monarch. Different than cardiac is that we wanted to attach horizontally instead of vertically onto the annulus, we're attaching horizontally onto the leaflets, and that allows us to rise and fall with the valve and distribute that load. We've got two sizes, both of which use a 30 millimeter bovine pericardial tissue valve, and then multiple sealing skirts, which is important. So there's an intra-annular skirt that kind of extends into the ventricular side, and then this right atrial skirt on the top side that you'll see more of, and then a low-profile design. So there's very little space that it takes up in the ventricle, in the atrium. We're really trying to keep this as tight as we can. It's right around 2 centimeters, just under. And then really important and specific to this device, those atrial arms can be raised and lowered. So it gives us the opportunity, in conjunction with the technology we have in the delivery system, to assess the hemodynamic function of this valve while we're still controlling it. If we don't like it, if there's a commissural gap still, we can pull those arms up. We can confirm it under echo, reseat it, make sure we're happy with it before we release it. So the whole process is very controlled, but still can be done very quickly and efficiently. And we talked a little bit about biodynamic motion. You saw that in the animation. But the idea here is that by attaching onto the leaflets and not trying to grasp the annulus itself, we can use those leaflets to distribute the load and actually allow the implant to rise and fall. This kind of distributes the load within the heart and allows it to continue the contractile motion of the ventricle, but also distributes the load that's on the frame itself, and we hope will increase durability of the implant. You see here the 30 French percutaneous delivery system. We can go transjugular or transfemoral with this. Gives us a wide range of options here, and again, what's unique is this repositionability that allows us to assess performance before we release the valve, which we think is really a game changer in this space. You can see here our initial compassionate use clinical results so far have been very promising. Procedural success, 12 out of 13, only 1 30-day mortality, and 2 pacemakers so far. You can see the bulk of our experience has been transjugular. We've also done transfemoral, but there's a reason anatomically that transjugular is much more straightforward, and so that's been our preference so far. There's a pretty high offset between the IVC and the tricuspid annulus that makes transjugular more challenging. And so it's more of a straight shot to go, or sorry, it makes transfemoral more challenging, makes transjugular a better choice in most of these patients. But the real important thing is that we have both options at our disposal here with this system. And, again, probably most importantly, we're going from massive torrential, severe TR to essentially mild trace or none in all these cases. So it's really effective in terms of eliminating these symptoms for patients, and they're feeling better, they're responding better to this treatment. So quickly, in terms of our strategy here, this project has been developed inside of Incubate so far from the beginning. We had our EFS approved in the last quarter of last year, and now we're preparing to start that as a global feasibility study, so first in the US, extending into Canada and Europe as well. We are looking to raise a Series A of $40 million. Series A is a bit of a misnomer there because of how much time, energy, and money has already gone into this since 2018. But it'll be the first external round as a separate C Corp that's spun out as Monarch Inc. And then we'll use that $40 million to conduct the feasibility study, submit for a pivotal study, and then go on to raise another round from there. So quickly, in summary, huge unmet need here still. Experienced valve team that's done, atrioventricular valves before, has exited that before, has taken it through to ultimately what's become a commercial device now with it. Differentiated technology with issued IP, encouraging early clinical data with up to 2 years of follow-up on those first patients that we've done, and now raising a $40 million to enter this global feasibility study, prepare for the pivotal, and you can see what we're trying to do here is, probably 30 to 50 patients, and then use that time in parallel to prepare our next generation system and submit for a pivotal. So thanks so much. Happy to talk more afterwards, but appreciate the time.